didn't even go back and try again. Oh, he's not on the other side. She didn't fit.
So we're live?
Just 1 second. It's working on it.
Oh,
Okay, we are live.
Good morning. I'd like to announce that the Mid-Continent Public Library Building Committee come to order. And would you take the roll, please?
Trustee Johnson,
Here.
trustee Gray, trustee Burgo, trustee Lazio, trustee Wyckoff, trustee Davis,
Yes.
Cody
This is
or
trustee Burgo. I'm here.
Thank you.
And Michael is on, but his mic is muted.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I had to.
We have a quorum. And it looks-
Michael is here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We do have a forum.
Okay. Also, I wanted to mention, it looks like we're having a problem with board docs on our end here in the boardroom. So Joycelyn and Michael, Ellie's going to email you the 2 documents that we're going to discuss today in the event you cannot log in.
All right.
You're ready.
All right, so we have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I
I'll
move
second.
to approve the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. Roll call, please.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Burgo.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio,
aye.
trustee Wyckoff. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Motion does carry. The agenda has been approved. First order of business then after that is our minutes. Is there an approval of the minutes for previous meeting, November 6th? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to Michael's to approve the minutes.
Second.
This is Joycelyn. I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the minutes from our November 6th meeting be approved. We'll do a roll call again.
Okay, trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Lazio,
Yes,
trustee Davis.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Motion has carried. The first topic for our consideration of the committee is the Midwest Genealogy Genealogy, that's it, genealogy, that's all I say. Center, and we have an issue with our roof. I think there's going to be a
Yeah, so
proposal, discussion to bring the topic to us.
just a little background. I think about a year ago, we did a facility maintenance plan. And in that plan, there were recommendations made for various repairs and upgrades to our facilities, one of which being the roof at the Midwest Genealogy Center. And it was pushed a little further down the road. However, there's an immediate need to make these repairs now, and we do have the budget to make the repair. Our primary concern as a library is that when the roof leaks, it is leaking near rare book collection. Many of the volumes in that collection are one of a kind. And we need to do our best to protect the investment the taxpayers have made in our collection. So to that end, we looped in Aaron Gordon, our facilities manager, to see what's needed to make it happen. And what he's going to do today is go over our proposal to repair one section of the roof, which is, I think, the largest of the 2, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the old part of the building, which is section A.
Right. But I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, and he's going to walk us through his plan, and then we can discuss afterwards.
Sure. So we typically prioritize repairs based upon reliability. We see an issue where we get enough active leaks, and like what Aaron's saying, we typically will push it towards the top. This particular roof, Navigate said we could push it out farther, according to the plan, but there again, when it becomes active enough that it needs to be pushed up the chain for replacement or repair, we look at that. So we'll go to the next slide, Brian. The agenda today is MGC. I'm going to just summarize the sort of history of the warranty and the original roof. We'll give you kind of an overview of the project, the type of roof system proposed to be installed. I'm going to talk a little bit about other locations we have TPO roofs installed. There's some documentation of roof engineer study. And then actually there's some cost savings to what this was originally proposed on that capital plan to the type of roof system we'd like to install. Next one, Brian. So MGC roof, currently in the history, it had a Derby gum wide modified Bidman roof. It was installed around 2008. It had a 20-year warranty. 2017 was when the roof was first split. We had a major issue, had to have Seller and Marcus come out and do a temp patch. Right after that happened, we submitted a claim to Derby gum. Then we had the architect that built the building do a review. We also had a separate independent engineer that was working for Derby gum at the time, and they associate the problem not to be with building movement. If we had building movement, we'd see movement in the parapet wall, we'd see cracks, we'd see other things. So in 2018, they denied the claim, basically told us that they wouldn't warranty the roof anymore. And a repair was made, and then it's lasted till the current day. We've had some active leaks, but presently it's gotten worse, and so we do need to address this. So on the next slide, Brian, if you would.
Aaron, could you just, for those of us who don't know, just explain just a little bit about the seam, like, why it's there in the first place?
Well, the seam was there in the first place to allow for movement. The failures within the material itself, really the last engineer that had looked at the PE, he said that a building this size should not have needed an expansion joint or a control joint, either one, right? So at this time, this is like a control joint that's put in to allow for movement within that roof system. And what's happened is there's been enough movement within that roof that that control joint is having problems allowing for the expansion and contraction. And primarily what happens is on really cold days, or I should say really hot days, it doesn't really matter, but let's say it's 80 degrees and it drops all the way to 40 degrees. So we have a 40-degree swing. That material will move over 2 inches. And when it does, that roof material does this. And that's where we're having the problem. The material's still good. You could go out there and look at it. And that's why it got as far as a review, it got a good review as far as how long there's life left in the material. But there again, when we look at bidding this and we go, well, a repair costs almost as much as really an overlay. And an overlay is a good fit for this type of situation. So I probably went in the weeds a little too much, Aaron, but that's how it works. That was how it was designed.
Does the city of Independence allow overlays?
As far as I know, I mean, I don't know anybody that would, on a TPO thing, I don't think they would.
Well, I just know at least on some residential, I don't think they,
Yeah.
but I'm just letting say on a commercial property.
I don't think so. On this roof system, it's going to have a lot more to do with weight. A few years ago at North Independence, we were going to do an overlay. And we did in that application, but in this one, we were not putting as much weight on it, because the TPO membrane isn't as heavy. And we'll be putting a backing board down with it. There again, the weight has a lot to do with it, and this system really doesn't have that issue. Anything else?
Any questions? Any further discussion and or questions?
Oh, wait, no, there's
more.
Oh, that,
Let's go to the next one, Brian. This is about cost. This is to associate really to the section that we were going to replace. You can see there's a picture there. It shows the A, from a Google Maps standpoint. That's the original part of the building. That's what we're looking at. The restorative product that they quoted us was $528,000, and that is an overlay system. The complete replacement was $1,080,000 at that time. So what we're proposing to do, like I said, section A with the thermoplastic polyethylene roof, which is TPO for short, much easier to say. And we'd like to budget $500K to complete the project. That should be ample, even if there's some engineering changes. I'm still working on a full scope from that engineer, the last engineer to sign off on the material we'd want to put down, but the TPO member should do it. Next. Okay, so this is just documentation of where we have TPO roofs installed, and we're having good performance with these roofs. We got Green Hills, Woodney's been in a long time, North Oak, East Lee Summit, Lee Summit, Coleman Road, Withers, East Independence, and Riverside. And then next slide, Brian. Further documentation of engineer studies reviews. We had 3 different reviews completed and all said the same thing. MGC roof failure was caused not from structural movement, it was caused by failure of material membrane and not building movement. SAP Design, Jim Seffelbein wrote a long letter about that. Structural Engineer Associates was who was hired by Derby, and then Bob Campbell and Company, which I had Brad McKenzie told me they're a good group. Michael Fable is the guy that's working on it, and I'll be getting a letter of recommendation from him on this as well. So, but verbally, he's already told me it's not a problem with the building; it's a problem with the material. So. And then our final slide, Brian. So the takeaways and questions and session, just the project cost at the time, I'll reiterate, was $1,080,000. Escalation cost, if we had waited for replacement, full replacement was $1.4 million to 2035, 2036. That's what Navigate told us. And then I've already got some preliminary estimates on this. So between 250K and 500K is really what we're expecting, which is, a good savings if we can cap those costs and, fix the problem. So the material we're looking at would offer us a 20-year warranty, correct the issue with the active leaks, and hopefully provide us with a long life going forward on that roof. So.
And then in terms of timeline, so after this briefing here, so what steps do you need to do? Like when could work begin? So I'm relying on that engineer. I got to get that through. And then once I get through with the engineering part of this, we can put it out for bid and get quotes fairly quickly. It really depends on contractors' timing. So, if we're full up late into the fall, that's a little bit of an issue, but I'd like to try to get it by fall is what I'd like to, if I can. It really has a lot to do with our contractors' time. And it used to be, you could just tell them, I always tell admin, I try to, do it when that time allows, when we can, to make it as the best possible outcome for the library. But contractors are so busy, it's hard to say this date, this time. So, but that's what we're going to shoot for, at least by fall. If I can get in the summer, I'll try to get it by then, but that's what we're going to shoot for.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Even though this is a budgeted item, we still think, given the size of the agreement or the estimate there, we think it's appropriate to bring it before the board just to give you an update that we will be making this expense for the next couple of months. But I'm grateful for the work that you've done, and there is an immediate need there given all of our plans for MGC and the work that they'll be doing in the coming year.
The comment I have is, how long have we had the plan? How long ago was it when we approved the management or the maintenance plan?
Jeremy, do you remember when we did that?
Well, that was brought in and the plan was being finished up in 2024. It started in 2023.
Right, what I want to get to is what were we suggesting we would, I know it's not physically being set aside, I suppose, but how much per year are we thinking about contributing to this fund?
It fluctuates as we move on. We did 1 million last year. The budget that you'll see next week, is 2 million.
Okay. And that's what I wondered, if we'd already started allocating to the side, because this is, now you're talking about 250 to 500.
That's correct.
And then do we know what we're spending this fiscal year, or what was for next fiscal year, over and above this?
That's wrong. Oh. Do you have that at your fingertips? Or do you, we have been talking about this, go ahead.
No, it just depends on, are we talking about, the capital maintenance plan itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did push some things up, so if it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, that some of the planned parking lot improvements were brought into this year, this fiscal year, as opposed to next.
Right. What I sent over to you and Jeremy, and this I didn't know whether it was hard science or if it was figuratively until approved, but if we were moving up some of those planned maintenance schedules and items and action items with saying the capability, there's a parking lot at Antioch that we will work on with drainage. There's HVAC system at Blue Ridge. Excelsior Springs, there's roof that was on that plan that's designated. MGC, of course, has the roof and some parking lot. Platte City, no, that's not on there. And South Independence. So South Independence is on there, some parking lot. So this has provided the fundings there for it.
The total dollar amount of those improvements?
3,342,000 roughly.
Jeremy, are we getting anything wrong here? Okay.
So this is a conscious fiscal decision we need to make. And it's been allocated, what's been thought about, and that's over that this amount's over 1 or 2 million. So comments from other committee members? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, please.
Yeah, I had 2 questions. One, just to confirm, if you're to have this overlay, it wouldn't compromise the structural integrity of the building itself. I mean, no additional, okay.
No.
And then in one of your illustrations, you had the roof sectioned off into A, B, and I believe the walkway. Would this be towards the section designated as A and B, or just A?
Just A. B is the auditorium, which was added on. It already has a TPO.
It's new, okay.
It's new, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we could go to this screen.
Want to go back to that screen?
Yeah,
that
the
has
one
it?
you have right now. Could you help me with the first versus cost projection of a little over 1 million and current cost? No, the one you had before was fine. There you go, yeah.
Okay.
And the third one, cost projection of 1/4 to 1/2. What's contemplated as being done with those dollar amounts? Because they are quite different.
Well, it depends if I get, there again, I got an approval from a letter of approval from the engineer that it's material, and so it's really with movement. So we have to make sure that this TPO movement is capable. Why there's a large gap is I do have some estimates, but I don't know if the guys that quoted me are prevailing. So that makes an impact. I don't know if the engineer will make any changes to scope when we go to bid. And I don't have everything hard and finite. The number originally that was given to us was 500K for restorative product cost. So like on that other slide that shows the A section, it's 528,000 is what Navigate showed as far as that cost, right? For a restorative product. This is similar to a restorative product that we're using. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're just within that area of cost and that we cover that so that we're not underfunding what we need to do in case something changes.
Yeah, because we use the expression, cost projection, I believe.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, cost projection of what? The same thing or?
It's the same thing. It's just there could be change of scope to work. If you change the scope of the work, right, if we had to change something. So we're just allowing for change of scope of work if that needs to happen.
So the million is more.
For complete replacement. So we'd have to tear it all off and then put it all back on. But really, if you're still getting a 20-year warranty and you have the, and you recap that savings and think about the material still be good. Really what we're talking about is just taking up what's bad. There's a bad section about 4 foot where that seam is that's got to be taken up. The insulation's got to be replaced. So, I mean, it saves money, it saves time, and it gives us another good solution for replacement, for roof replacement.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, Joycelyn, any comment, question?
Yes, this is Michael. So let me make sure I've got this straight that in your last explanation, are we replacing the entire part of A or not?
We are overlaying the entire part of A with a TPO material.
Okay,
We would overlay it. What is bad underneath that seam, we would replace, which is only about a 4 foot swath, the length of the building, but everything else we're gonna overlay with a TPO product.
and so the total cost of that is what?
Right now, the total cost is around 250, but what I was saying is part of this is when we go out for bid, we have to make sure on this project that we're prevailing. We also have to make sure that there isn't something else that would change by the engineer. As far as the spec of material, if he wants to go to a different grade of material, it could change that cost dramatically.
So you're suggesting that that's twice between 250 and 500?
That is correct, yes. Just allowing the leeway to do the job in case we run into other problems with that project. And if we can save you money, good stewardship is if we can save money and we can give a good product, that's what we want to do. All I'm
Okay,
here to do is present you guys with the information. I want to do a good job too at the end of the day.
okay. So just finally, just to make sure I understand this, is that it's gonna be, your estimate at the present time is 250,
That's correct.
correct?
That's correct.
And so, but it could go as high as up to 500?
Yeah, and I mean, that's because of Navigate. Again, that's based off what Navigate gave us for that restorative product. So we're just weighing those two numbers of what we were given. I'm thinking we'll probably be on the low side, or I should say, we might be on the upper side of the 250. We may be more like 300, but until I bid it, I really don't know that exact finite cost. I'm trying to give you guys just a range of where we could come in on numbers.
Okay, so, yeah, the final part, I guess. So what we're talking about here is that would be an entire replacement of A, is that correct?
It's an overlay of A.
Overlay of A. And there would be a 20-year guarantee with that overlay?
That is what I'm being told with the current product. That is correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I had that all an understanding that that was what we're talking about. Okay.
This is Joycelyn. I have no questions. It seems like a reasonable solution to a problem that can be quite expensive. We have to protect our collections. I mean, that's kind of the core of what we do.
Michelle, do you have any comments?
Sorry, no, I'm in a really loud place right now, so.
Okay. All right, so in terms of the amount we've allocated to expend, and I don't know if it's an actual fund, but in the maintenance plan, will anything have to be put off to the next fiscal year? Or can we do everything you plan to do going into this fiscal year? And then now add this to it, and how does that? Are we able, I guess, are we able to do that in the fiscal?
We've got this plan, excuse me, currently programmed into next year's budget since by the time we select a vendor and do the award, it'll be after June 30.
Yeah, I assume this has to be a recommendation to the full board. Is that doing, or can we make this decision as this committee?
Technically, I mean, we consider it a budgeted expense. I mean, but I don't know.
I don't see any requests for a motion. That's all. That's
Right.
Now, this is more for informational purposes. When a vendor has been selected, it'll come back for your approval.
oh. Okay. Well, yeah, from my participation here today, and I think Michael's last series of couple of questions. And I now understand the 250, the 500, the overlay. So, yeah, I appreciate the, I think this has to be done also.
All right.
Again, just another question. If, let's say that this analysis was not done and we notice that there is potential damage for some very important part of the collection, we'd simply move the collection to a place that wasn't vulnerable. But then I'm assuming that once we do that, we're still facing the fact that the whole roof under Section A is compromised, and we'd have to eventually do this anyway.
We need to mitigate that. I mean, you don't want moisture to sit in your insulation for a period of time with your decking. You know, it's going to get there, and it's not going to have a way to dry up because you got, you know, a material that won't allow that vapor to breathe. And so really the idea of leaving moisture trapped in there is a bad idea. We want to remove that insulation and mitigate that anyway. And the cost of probably just doing a simple repair, let's say where we were just to remove that insulation, would be high enough that you would look at that and go, well, why wouldn't you go ahead and replace or do an overlay with it? That's probably one. You know, I talked to the roofer about this and he said, you're throwing good money after bad just to do a repair like that. Why not just do the full system and do it the right way? And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess the point of my question was to confirm, it's sort of like if you have a toothache, you could do nothing and wait, and then you have a root canal. So it's going to cost you a lot more by ignoring the concern that's being addressed.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. And really, who wants to wait until, and who wouldn't want to do an oil change instead of having to replace an engine, right?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
And just about the collection itself, we're talking about a section of the collection that isn't publicly accessible. It's a locked rare book room, if I'm not mistaken.
Upstairs?
Yeah, upstairs. I'm relatively certain. So yes, it could be moved, but you would need to think about where that would go. And it's quite a few months.
I wasn't
Yeah.
suggesting, I just wanted to, you said as a starting point that that's symptomatic of something which is a major concern right now and a growing concern.
Yeah, exactly.
We do monitor it. We do try our best to keep it dry. We have a contractor that, you know, helps us manage that. We do our best, but you can't allow for Mother Nature. Weather's weather. And
Of course.
I don't know if you've noticed we've had rain this spring.
a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I understand the process, and again, unless there's some major committee members concerned, I think we appreciate what is being happened, the problem involved, and how we're going to mitigate the problem, and I don't think there's any opposition to maybe continue on.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Sure.
Now that we're here, is there any other business of the committee?
Not right now on our end.
I'm not going to talk about Colburn right now. We shall. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
This is Joyce, and I move to adjourn.
This is Michael, I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.